I'm Megan.
And I'm Debbie.
We are real life scientists, and we want to share some sciencey stories that are sterilizing, parasitic, and sometimes disgusting. But with a Mad Libs twist. You are listening to Lab Libs. All right, so this week I have a story that is kind of gross, so I just want to put that out there. It's very gross. It's very gross. And it's about bugs, so if you're not into gross stuff about bugs, I mean, you have to listen to me, but the listeners, if the listeners are not into
I do. I'm committed.
Then you've been fair warned.
Got it.
Okay, so I've got an out of context quote for you.
Ooh, sweet.
It's from the Atlantic article that I found for all of this topic.
Okay.
And then they say, in press interviews, scientists worried about what laughing stocks they'd be if their idiotic insect sex scheme failed.
Did you say sex scheme?
Yes. Idiotic sex scheme failed. Insect sex scheme. Yes.
Insect
idiotic
sex. Okay.
Insect sex.
All right.
scheme.
Okay.
So I tried really hard to find the document that the Atlantic article is quoting there.
Okay.
Because they said idiotic insect sex scheme in a press release, but I could not find the original press release.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good enough.
Yep. Okay, so my story today is about this battle that humans have been waging against an insect for over 70 years.
Okay.
It's a ruthless invader, and you've probably never heard of it.
What?
Yep.
Oh my God. Okay.
I'd never heard of it at all. And
no way.
I mean, not that I know everything, but it seems like a huge piece of history that nobody talks about.
Wow, how bad?
It's a battle that's fought constantly every single week for decades from a remote location. This enemy held at bay by a heavily monitored single massive wall.
What are you talking about? Oh my God.
This is the main defense against the bug today, and it's actually a multinational cooperative offense requiring expertise from all kinds of different workers, scientists, and other industries alike, from cattle ranchers, laboratory researchers, entomologists, environmental surveyors, countless administration and data scientists.
Let me just ask again. You said a wall.
Yes, a wall.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not the type of wall that you're probably thinking.
I'm sure, but it still sounds mad.
It's insane. Okay, speaking of mad, your first Mad Libs is here.
All right.
Which is, what kind of bug did you envision that I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. And you said a beetle.
Right.
What do you think?
Well, you said I've never heard of it.
You guys certainly did.
So I feel like it's probably not beetle.
It's probably not. It is a bug called a screwworm fly.
A screwworm fly.
Yes. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Put your seatbelt on, because we're going to learn about screwworm flies. Okay. Let me learn you something right now.
It's legitly a fly, though,
yes, it's
right?
a fly.
Okay.
Okay, so let me just tell you a little bit about this horrifying bug. Screwworm flies are a type of parasite, a type of blowfly, that lay their eggs into flesh of warm-blooded animals. Now, that's what all blowflies do, but a very unique thing about screwworm flies is that instead of laying their eggs into dead flesh, like all other blowflies, they lay their eggs into living flesh. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
So,
why?
right. So that's mainly livestock, wildlife, pets, sometimes humans. Pets? Unfortunately.
Oh my God.
A bird will do in a pinch, but they prefer mammals.
Bird?
They prefer mammals.
Wow.
Okay.
All right.
The scientific name is C. homnivorax, which means man-eater.
Oh my gosh. Oh my god.
It's named that way because of the way that it was first discovered. I'll get to that later. It doesn't very often target humans. Just to put that out there. Pretty rarely. So yeah, other similar pests only feed on dead tissues. So this is going to be a lot more devastating and harder to control because you can't use like some of the poisons to kill bugs that you would normally use on living tissue.
Also, we're more concerned about living tissue than we are dead tissue, probably.
Right, exactly. Okay, so basic life stage is that adult females land on a wound on an animal. Like any kind of wound, a scratch, tick bite, even the wound that newborns have when they're born, like the umbilical cord is connected.
Oh god.
Yeah, any wound. The adult female will land on it and lay eggs in it. When I asked you the next Mad Libs, what's a range of numbers in the hundreds?
Yeah.
So I was looking for something like 1600 to 1700, but in the hundreds. So you said 200.
Right.
Would you say you meant 1 to 200 or 2 to 300?
You wanted a range.
I wanted a range, yeah. Or any other kind of range, just to see if you were right.
I would say like 200 or 300 maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the number of eggs that they lay at a time.
No. No, they do not. No, they do not. They do not do that.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Oh god. Okay.
Okay, so they within 24 hours, the larva that they've laid the eggs turns into larva and burrows into the wound. That's why they're called screwworm flies.
Oh my god.
Because they are literally shaped and move in the way a screw would and burrow into flesh.
That is horrifying.
Yeah, it is. It is really horrifying. They eat it. They feast on the flesh. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that causes huge wounds that do not heal.
The babies do that?
The larva, yeah.
The larva, okay.
Like maggots, basically, is what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's a huge problem for the animal.
Yeah.
It causes these big gaping wounds that don't heal, deep wounds, even sometimes into the muscle.
Oh my god.
Really bad, even all the way to the bone. Like you can see bone exposed from these wounds.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's often fatal. And the infestation spreads really quickly because their life cycle is short. So they become flies right away and they're attracted to any wound. So you can imagine, like, how would you stop animals from having wounds?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Of any type. So it basically spreads quickly through an area and decimates the livestock and wildlife populations. They're only native to North and South America, like the Americas as a continent. And only in climates where it's warm. Like if it's got freezing temperatures for any extended amount of time, they can't live there. So it's the southern United States, Mexico, and Central and South America is where they're native to.
Okay.
Now, you might be wondering if this is such a huge battle that I talked about at the beginning, and it's so devastating, how come you've never heard of it?
Right. I am wondering that.
Yeah. Okay. So your next Mad Lib is the answer to that, is the beginning of the answer to that.
Okay.
I asked you to give me a decade in the 1900s.
Okay.
You said the 1910s.
Yes.
This is going to be the beginning of our fight against the screwworm flies. Do you think it was in the 1910s?
I think probably a little bit later than that.
Yeah.
But I always, if I have to guess, like an early 1900s or any 1900s date, I always do 1912 because the Titanic's.
You're so funny. No, it's not 1912.
I said 1910. That's why.
It's the 30s. Actually, it sort of is the 30s, but the answer that I went with, and I kind of went between these two as the correct answer. Okay. Sort of started in the 30s, but really what the topic I'm talking about, the era that I'm talking about in the story, started in the 1950s. So that's what we're looking at.
Okay.
So let's back up a bit. I'll tell you about the history of the screwworm fly in the Americas pre-1950s.
Okay.
Okay, so it's really bad. Like, we don't hear about it now, but there were $20 million a year loss all across the Americas in cattle losses, in cattle production. And that's in 1950s money. So huge losses across the board all over the continent of livestock. And prevention methods were not very effective. They were mostly about inspecting livestock, treating wounds with insecticides and healing topicals, and trying to avoid any preventable wounds at any cost. So they would do things like keeping their range free of any materials that might cause wounds, isolating any infected animals, burning their carcasses when the infested ones would die.
Oh my God.
They would even schedule their farming practices around heavy fly season. So they would only do calving, like where the babies would be born.
Right.
They would only do calving and branding and dehorning, all things that cause wounds, outside of fly season. They would literally schedule everything around these flies to try anything they could to decrease the amount of wounds that were on the livestock.
Right.
And the only insecticide type things that were available at that time were pine tar oil and benzol. So can't be real good for the animals or the people putting it on the animals.
Pine sol.
Yeah, it sounds harmful and overall not very effective. I could think of so many flaws in this method.
Right.
Like, how do you stop wounds from happening, especially on newborn calves from their umbilical cord or tick bites? And it doesn't just affect livestock, it also affects the wildlife and spreads through wildlife populations. How do you stop wild animals from getting a wound?
How does the insecticide affect the wound? You know what I'm saying? Like, what if it makes it like non-healing wound because of this freaking poison?
Yeah, and not to mention the wound itself is just really bad at that point, and the animal could just die from that.
Right.
No matter what you do.
Right.
And how do you treat gaping, rotting flesh as a farmer without infecting yourself with something? And also, the animals aren't going to like be cooperative and line up for you to do this. So you have to be constantly monitoring.
Did they know at that time that it can happen to humans?
Yeah, because that's how it was discovered.
Oh.
There was I don't know if I wrote this somewhere else, but I'll just tell you now. There was a French penal colony called Devil's Island, and screwworms, flies started infecting the people in the penal colony, and it was horrible. And a bunch of people died from it, and that's how they discovered this one.
No way.
Yep.
Oh, God.
Holy shit. Okay, so yeah, overall the effectiveness of these treatments pre-1950s were pretty bad. And throughout the 1930s, entomologists tried to come up with better methods. They invented a better insecticide called Sneer 62. And this flesh-like medium of meat and blood and stuff that they could use in the lab to grow flies in order to do research, because prior to that, they could only get flies off of infecting living animals, which is bad. Don't want to do that on purpose. So they invented this fly nutrition medium that's fake mean like live flesh.
Right.
So that was an entomologist named Raymond Bushland. He's important later too.
Okay.
He invented this in 1938. It was basically a combo of ground beef, blood, water, and a little bit of formaldehyde, just for seasoning.
Well, a little sprinkle.
Sprinkles, yeah. Okay, and then there's this other guy in the 1930s, a USDA entomologist named Edward F. Kipling.
Okay.
And he's actually been fascinated by screwworms since he was a kid, because he was a kid on a farm trying to smear that insecticide on pigs all the time.
No way.
He would say in an interview 8 decades later the most underrated phrase, like the most understated phrase I've ever heard.
Okay.
Which is, that was a very unpleasant task. Screwworms were so widespread in southern U.S. states that they shaped what we know cowboy culture to be as still today.
Okay.
Like the long days of riding on the range. Mm-hmm. What were they doing? Inspecting all their livestock for screwworm flies. And making sure that there weren't any things that might cause wounds around. That's what they were doing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially in the Southwest.
I don't remember it on the home on the range.
No, I thought they were having long days of gay cowboy sex. Okay, so as an adult, he was actually studying screwworm mating to just try to figure out how they were spreading so fast and what they could do to try to slow the spread.
Sexy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Insect sex. And he helped discover a pretty important fact, which is that female screwworm flies. I'm just going to say flies, and for the purpose of this episode,
Okay,
it's this particular fly I'm talking about.
Right.
So he helped discover that female flies only mate once.
Okay.
So he got the idea that if they could sterilize the males somehow, then they could use that to control the populations. Because if they wasted their one mating on a sterile male, then they would never lay any eggs and they'd die. Right? So let's fast forward to the 1950s.
Okay.
What technology was being heavily researched and developed in the US in the 1950s? Radiation. You know, I tried to make radiation the answer to one of the Mad Libs, but I couldn't think of what category that would even be in. Like, what might you guess radiation to be the answer to? I couldn't think of.
Yeah, I don't know.
Couldn't think of one.
Maybe like a warning sign, like a warning you might see on a sign.
True.
Something like that, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway.
Anyways, so we were researching radiation a lot in the 1950s for military purposes and medical purposes, like military for nuclear weapons, medical for diagnostic imaging. And a lot of research was going towards either causing harm with radiation as a weapon or reducing its harm in medicine.
Okay.
Right, so we were just all over the place with radiation.
Right.
And Kipling had a thought, along with his co-worker Raymond Bushland, that they now worked together, these two entomologists, that if radiation could be harmful to humans, they might be able to use it to sterilize the screwworm flies.
Okay.
And in early 1950, there was actually a paper written by this Nobel Prize winner in medicine, Dr. Herman J. Muller, and he described a method that he used to sterilize fruit flies with radiation.
Okay.
And that sparked Kipling to try out the idea on screwworms. They actually corresponded. And the Nobel Peace Prize guy was like, yeah, you should try it.
Okay. Okay. I'm very interested on how we're going to make this happen.
Yeah. Well, the first time they did it, they basically just stole an x-ray machine from a military hospital nearby.
Yeah, okay.
And started putting the flies through it. That's how he started.
Okay.
That is how we started. So I love that they stole it. I love that they stole it. No, they didn't ask. It sounds like, I say, like,
Can we borrow your radiation? No? Okay.
Oh my God. Yeah. So they stole the x-ray machine from a military hospital. They started putting flies through it. And they were basically experimenting what stage of the fly life cycle would be most effective at sterilizing.
Like for sterilizing.
And what dosage time and stuff. Because you don't want dead flies. You know, you want living, sexy, robust flies that the females are going to want to mate with still that are also sterile. So they did a lot of research on how much time to put them in, how strong of the radiation it should be, and at what life cycle was important too. And they figured out that about 5 days into their development stage, when the testes are developing, that's the time for radiation to make the males sterile. So this came to be known as the sterile insect technique, SIT. and it was successfully used for many
Like a lot of things. And
infestations.
Okay.
Yeah. So the next step is let's try it in the wild, right? What could go wrong?
I mean, I just don't know how you're gonna do this.
Yeah.
How are you gonna do this?
Okay. Now remember, the flies have to be sterile, but the important part is that they still have to be sexy
Right.
to the female flies.
Yeah.
They need to be big, strong, fly well,
Strapping.
robust.
Yeah.
Yeah. Strapping gentlemen.
Strapping young flies.
Right. The females have to actually mate with them for any of this to matter. And
Right.
work, right? Okay, so your next Mad Libs is a state in the southeast where they first tried this in the wild.
Okay.
You said Georgia.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it could be Georgia.
It could be Georgia. But as always,
It's
Florida.
Florida man strikes again.
Florida man strikes again. This time with sexy and sex schemes.
Of course, it's Florida. Of course. Why don't I not say Florida?
I don't know.
It's gotta be Florida. Oh, it's always Florida.
Sorry, could have been Georgia, but it's not. Oh, God. Okay. We just said the same thing. Okay, yeah. The first factory where they started growing a bunch of screwworm flies and radiating them.
Using the raw meat thingy.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yes. Was actually built in Orlando in 1951.
Right next to Mickey.
Right next to Mickey. The smell of rotting flesh. So they first tried their eradication method by releasing sterile flies on Sanibel Island in 1951. They tried for 2 years releasing the flies, but it didn't really work. It definitely decreased the populations on the island, but they think because the island was so close to the mainland, it was still within the migration distance. And so there's still
strapping young fertile men.
Yeah, fertile men came from mainland Florida and messed everything up. But it definitely greatly reduced the population. So they did manage to continue getting funding, even though there was a lot of doubt about the effectiveness of this method. That's where my out of context quote came in. Early on in this project, they did have to convince governments and funding agencies to go along with this insane insect sex scheme and believe that it would work, right? So they did, and they decided to try a more remote island in the Dutch Caribbean, and it worked. In just several months, the entire screwworm population on the island was eradicated completely, none, by 1954.
Okay.
They did that by releasing tens of thousands of sterile flies. And by 1955, January, they had 0 reports, 0 cases of flies. And they would even set bait and traps, bait of this flesh material to test and make sure that none of the flies landing on it were the screwworm flies. None.
Okay, question.
Yes.
You might answer it, but I'm just curious. How is this going to prevent is it going to be like an evolutionary type of thing? How is it going to prevent new male flies, young, just born? How's it going to prevent them from then going out there? And
we're overwhelming the population with so many sterile males that everybody dies.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. No more babies are born. Right. Yeah, and everyone dies.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. And then there's no more.
Makes sense.
They could still reinfest from somewhere else. That's what happened on Sanibel Island, right?
Yeah.
The first time they tried, they did reinfest from other infestation. And this topic is going to come up a lot in the process here of the question you asked. How come the area can't get reinfested? It can, and it will.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so they wanted to upscale this project. Obviously, it worked on the island. Let's try it in the larger area. Let's try it everywhere, right? So Kipling and Bushland had to convince the USDA and the US government that investing time, research, manpower, a lot of money into insect sterilization was a good idea. They ended up getting an amount of money to fund this upscale of this project. I asked you a Mad Libs about that.
Okay.
An exact number between 1.0 and 5.0. You said 2.7. So do you think that the state and federal funding from, the USDA, the federal government, the state government of Florida, we're still doing this in Florida,
Okay.
gave them $2.7 million in 1954?
So we're talking millions.
Millions, yeah.
In 1954. 2.7. Is that what I said? Yeah, I think that's right.
They actually managed to get $4.5 million in funding
no way.
between state and federal agencies.
I was going to say if it wasn't right, then it was lower than that.
Yeah.
Okay.
They worked with the Florida Cattlemen's Association, and by 1959, so we started in 1955 in Florida, and we're in 1959, just a few years later, all screwworm flies are gone in Florida.
Wow. Okay.
Environmental surveyors were involved, and they studied the flight patterns and mating behaviors of the flies and where the infestations were bad to determine the best routes of delivery.
Okay.
You've asked me this question already so far, which is how are they releasing the flies? So they are using your next Mad Libs.
Okay.
A type of vehicle. You said a tractor.
Yeah, that sounds right.
That sounds right?
Yeah.
You think it's a tractor?
I think it
Could be.
It could be.
Right?
Yeah.
No.
Like how
It's not. Do you have another guess?
another vehicle? How they would distribute them. No, I don't know. I have no idea. Tractor is right.
Used planes.
No.
Yes.
No.
They literally dropped
That was like my last guess.
hordes of flies out of planes
Oh.
all over the place.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
They used a plane that they basically jerry-rigged to have a specialized chute under the wings
Wonderful.
to drop just millions of flies on Florida.
That's what happened.
Sterile flies, okay? Sterile flies. So this is good. This is a good thing.
Okay.
Can you imagine just being like an average person
I
in
know,
Florida?
that's what I said. Oh, and I'm sure they just notified the populace of this, right? Like, I'm sure they definitely let the people know.
They actually did. A lot of this story is about education.
Okay.
And making sure people who own livestock are aware of the methods that need to be done.
That's weird because that's rare, especially in that time period, for them to think, like, to share knowledge with people and trying to educate.
Yeah, they really did. They really did. There was multiple fly rearing warehouses around the state, and they had a dedicated airplane hangar, and they were producing 50 million flies a week.
Oh my God.
At this point, they moved on.
Many.
It's not even close to too many, Debbie. Okay. At this point, they'd moved on from the stolen X-ray machine from the military hospital, and they were using gamma rays from radioactive cobalt.
Okay.
And we actually still use the gamma rays from radioactive cobalt now. Okay, this type of thing.
Okay.
I really like the story because, although it is really horribly disgusting and awful, and just I know way too much about it now. There's this really huge theme throughout it that I liked of intense collaboration from all different types of people.
That makes a difference.
And lots of countries as well.
Yeah.
From the beginning in Florida, so many different types of scientists had to work together.
Right.
Even the process of determining had the flies been eradicated required cooperation from fly trap experts, livestock producers, entomologists, county agents, data analysts, data analysts, many administrative reporting agents. That's all just to gather data to prove that there are no more screwworm flies, I mean.
Yeah. This is really rare. Like,
Yeah.
Even to this day.
That just demonstrates how horrible this problem must have been. That everyone was like, we gotta work together, you guys.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got your next Mad Libs, which is an important part of the large-scale eradication process of the United States. And I asked you to name a large body of water.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
The Gulf of America.
That's wrong because I refuse to call it that, but actually you are right. It's the Gulf of Mexico.
And that would be the answer that my 16-year-old son provided me with.
That's beautiful.
That sounds right, right? Yeah.
You were right. Yeah. Well, you were wrong because it is not called that.
Right.
But And in all the articles I read, it still says the Gulf of Mexico.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Okay. So Florida and southern Georgia were key to ridding the entire southeast of the flies.
Okay.
Since they can't live in colder temperatures, they weren't really found much farther north than Georgia.
Okay.
And they cannot migrate across the Gulf of Mexico. So the only other point that screwworm flies could get to the southeast of the U.S. was by crossing over the Mississippi River, which there was lots of trade and, livestock migration from one farm to another or whatever, or wildlife migration across the Mississippi River, but it could be monitored.
Okay.
So that was basically what their plan was. Eradicate it from Georgia and Florida, couldn't cross the Gulf of Mexico.
Okay.
They would just monitor the hell out of the Mississippi River.
Okay.
And just carefully inspect all cattle reported from anywhere west of the Mississippi River.
Okay.
And this worked. By 1959, the Southeast was declared screwworm fly free, but it did need constant monitoring, and there were still small outbreaks, but as long as they were reported and controlled, it was a pretty good system.
Okay.
However, it is still fragile, right? Because there's plenty of other places in the world where it was still a problem.
Right.
But they got pretty good at saturating an infected area with sterile flies, and they were really successful at maintaining this.
So they still kind of had to do that?
Yes.
Okay.
They were still releasing flies wherever any infestations were reported. So this is where education comes in a lot, because they had to educate all the ranchers in Florida.
Right.
This is what you need to do. This is how you report it. This is what you need to send us. Do it fast. Be monitoring it all the time, right?
Right.
And it was also in Florida that they started trying to make the fly production more efficient. They wanted to provide the most nutrients for the lowest cost, getting the most robust and competitive flies with the least amount of this horrible, disgusting, expensive food product.
Ugh. Yeah.
And this is still the main goal today, 70 years later, in this battle,
Oh my gosh.
is the efficiency of the whole thing.
Right.
So it worked so well in the Southeast that quickly other states wanted to employ their own eradication techniques. And eradication east of the Mississippi River was accomplished pretty quickly. Then Texas, Louisiana, New Mexico, Arizona, and California, the remaining states affected by this problem, wanted their own methods. The Southwest proved a lot more challenging. There was a much larger animal population in these areas.
Okay.
There was more widespread farming as well. So this all led to a more difficult inspection process, and just the infestations were much harder to control. But they kept trying. They built a large scale, for the first time, a huge warehouse to produce millions of flies at a time. And this even came with its own set of challenges, which was primarily the cost of resources it needed to basically trick all these flies into thinking they're eating living flesh. They needed to start producing 200 million flies per week to treat the Southwest, since it was such a larger area and population.
Oh my God.
In order to do that, using this bushland method of ground beef and whole blood, by 1962, the warehouse was using 240,000 pounds of meat and 10,000 gallons of blood per week.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Okay. Your next Mad Libs is coming up.
Okay.
I think you're gonna know what it should be.
Okay. What is it?
There was a big problem I haven't mentioned about the warehouses.
Okay.
It has to do with one of the 5 senses. You said touch. While I'm sure it would be horrifying to touch that gross meat sludge, what do you think the real sensory problem would be here?
The problem, it was a problem. I would guess sound.
Nope.
It's not looking at them, right?
Nope.
Okay, all right. Because
it's very obvious to me. What would be the problem with a warehouse full of flesh that flies are eating?
what?
It would smell.
Oh.
It smelled like death.
Okay.
That is what people describe
I
it
was
as.
thinking of like sounds that
metallic
flies would make.
death smell.
Oh, disgusting. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. in the earliest days of sterile screwworm fly testing, the flies stank so bad that airlines refused to ship them on their planes.
Oh my gosh.
So warehouse workers learned to spray the boxes with cologne.
Oh my god.
The warehouses also had to have several miles of empty space around them because anyone living near the warehouse would just smell rotting flesh constantly. Because you have to be growing these flies all the time.
Constantly, right?
We're producing hundreds of millions of flies a week at this point and releasing them, sterilizing them and releasing them into the wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. The main problem with eradication in the Southwest was that we were looking at it as the U.S. and connected to the U.S. is Mexico. Mm-hmm. And so in order for the Southwest to be cleared, Mexico had to be cleared.
Right.
Because there was no Gulf of Mexico body of water separating the infestation from the non-infested areas.
Yeah.
It was just an arbitrary border that we made there. And the screwworm flies were flying straight over it, obviously. So every time they would clear an area, it would just get reinfested from Mexico. So the government of the U.S. started facing a lot of pressure from groups like the Texas and Southwestern Cattle Raisers Association. And that public pressure led to Dwight Eisenhower, the president at the time, in 1959, and the Mexican president, Adolfo Lopez Mateos, to hold a summit and start discussing how they could work together to eradicate the flies.
It's remarkable that two presidents sat down to discuss a fly problem.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. And we don't know that.
That's what I'm saying. This is so much history that I don't think really anybody knows about. Why?
Like, I don't know.
You don't get so big.
You don't get two presidents meeting each other for just anything.
Yeah, like the huge nature of this project, like a multinational. It really is like a war being fought against these bugs.
Yeah.
And no one's ever heard of it for some reason.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Historians were all just like, this is too gross.
Yeah, right? Yeah,
about that ever happening. Yeah, let's all
wipe that one from our memory.
So the summit went well. They managed to partner for some preliminary research, but they wouldn't truly start collaborating their efforts for several more years, unfortunately. But by 1962, private and state funding in the Southwest U.S. allowed a fly rearing warehouse to be built in Texas, the largest one yet. Built in Texas, and then another one built in Texas, which was the largest one yet. And that would serve as the main site for sterile fly production for decades. It was in a city in Texas. That's your next Mad Libs. You said Laredo?
Yeah, it's not in Texas.
I don't know. I've never heard of this plant places in Texas.
You haven't heard of Laredo?
Nope.
Yeah, it might not be in Texas. But
You're so funny.
But what I will say is
we are really smart, but we are really bad at social studies.
What I will say is that I'm sure there is a Laredo.
Geography. We're bad at geography.
What I would say is, I'm sure there is a Laredo, Texas, regardless.
I'm sure there is. There's an everywhere, Texas.
Yeah.
It's not Laredo.
Okay.
Whether or not that's it's not the answer.
Okay. All right.
It's actually Mission, Texas.
Where's that?
I don't know. I don't know anything about Texas.
Okay.
To tell you the truth. But in Mission, Texas, they quickly started churning out 50 million flies a week, just like they were doing in Florida, right from the beginning.
Okay.
So, like I said before, education was a huge part of this process. The Department of Agriculture did a lot of work. They spent a lot of resources on materials to educate ranchers and livestock owners and just the general public. And this was an essential piece of the project. They even produced little video public service announcements.
Oh, no way.
I watched them and they're so funny and weird.
Oh, God.
There was one in 1963 that was produced by the Department of Agriculture called Look Out for Screwworms.
Oh.
It described how important inspection of animals was to the eradication effort. It encouraged people to inspect their animals for wounds often, treat them with insecticides, and most importantly, send samples of the worms and all of the eggs found in the wounds to their county official in the mail for data collection.
No. Absolutely not.
They provided the ranchers and livestock owners with special tubes full of alcohol, or they could use water in a pinch to send them worm samples and all the eggs they found.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The video had a catchy slogan,
Okay.
which is your next Mad Libs.
Okay.
I asked you to give me 3 verbs in the form of a command. Then I gave you an example like stop, drop, and roll. Right, would be one.
You said live, laugh, love. I wish it was that. I'd die if it was that. Look out for screwers. Live, laugh, love.
Oh no, the catchy phrase, the catchy slogan was examine, collect, treat.
Okay. All right. Examine.
They also determined during this time period in the research that was still ongoing about the flies, their population, their life cycles, and so on, that the flies unfortunately could fly up to 180 miles. So they could no longer ignore the need to cooperate with Mexico because the flies, while they can't cross the Gulf of Mexico, which is wider than 180 miles, they could cross from very far away in Mexico. So in 1965, there was this huge outbreak, and Mexican and U.S. livestock producers finally got together.
Okay.
And they signed a declaration to establish and fund, importantly, both countries are giving money at this point, a joint eradication project. They started releasing flies on both sides of the border from this plant in Mission, Texas.
Okay.
By 1966, so we just built the warehouse in 1962. We just built the Mission, Texas warehouse in 1962, and we started out with 50 million flies a week.
Right.
By 1966, Mission, Texas was producing 150 million sterile flies a week. And the U.S. was declared, quote unquote, screwworm fly free. Meaning at least no populations were living and breeding in the U.S.
Okay.
But there were still often reinfestations from Texas, from Mexico. The numbers were pretty astonishing, though. Before 1962, Texas alone was reporting thousands of cases of infestation a week. But in 1967, there were less than 900 cases in the whole year in Texas.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy, right?
Yeah, that's insane.
In just like 5 years.
Really low
Thousands
amount.
a week to 900 a year.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And the numbers were even lower in the other states because the numbers of animals there were lower.
Yeah.
It was not perfect, and reinfestation still happened from flies migrating from Mexico. And by the early 1970s, the barrier between the countries, this is where the wall starts to come into effect. This barrier was becoming harder and harder to control. Quarantine was not perfect when moving livestock around the border. They didn't always notice if the animal was infested. The weather in those years, just by bad luck, happened to be particularly warm and humid for several years in a row. And because the problem was a lot less prevalent, ranchers and other people in the industry weren't looking as hard. They didn't know as much.
As much anymore.
Yeah, they weren't educated as well about it.
Right.
And they didn't know how to report cases as well. So it just wasn't going very well.
Right.
So I asked you the next Mad Libs, a number from 1 to 50. And this number is going to be how many years, starting in 1966, when they declared the U.S. free of flies. How many years did it take to eradicate the flies all the way south from the U.S.-Mexico border all the way down to the permanent border that we have in place today? How many years do you think that took?
Wait, So all of the U.S.
All of the U.S. is already fly-free.
Right.
The barrier, quote unquote, that we have in place, this
Okay.
huge wall
Right.
of sterile flies that we're releasing
Build the wall. Build the wall.
is at the border between the U.S. and Mexico in 1966.
Okay.
Okay. How long does it take for that border to get all the way south to our current border that we have in place today?
Okay.
You said 24 years.
Yeah, I like the number 24.
Yeah. It was actually a lot longer. 37 years it took.
Gosh.
From 1966
I can't even believe that you
to
kept up with
2003.
me. No way.
Yep.
Oh.
Because we just started having a lot of setbacks. Remember when we were down to 900 cases a year?
Yeah.
Well, in 1971, it was even better. There were only 444 cases reported in Texas the whole year.
Okay.
But then in 1972, there were 90,000. Yeah. So something had to change.
Yeah.
The USDA started reinvigorating their education efforts. They put in place a lot of measures to improve inspection and reporting measures during livestock migrations or imports. And they taught the livestock owners again how to report the infestations.
Right.
They released more little videos.
Oh, God.
In 1972, they released another PSA explaining how the U.S. and Mexico were working together, and it was much more urgent than the first one. You can tell that they're kind of panicking.
Right.
So around that time, 1972, Mexico and the U.S. joined forces by creating, I love the names of things that everybody has names.
Yeah.
They created the Mexico-USA Screwworm Eradication Commission.
Ooh, fancy title.
I know.
Yeah.
The basic goal of that commission was to convince ranchers to do all of the preventative measures.
Okay.
And to convince both governments to fund and employ larger efforts. But the efforts were slow, and people started questioning, is this even going to work? Are they really sterile? Is it possible to stop reinfestation?
Right.
Is this going to work in long term, or is this just going to be constant failure?
Yeah.
And the funding decreased, but the efforts always persisted.
Okay.
Between 1962 and 1975, you're so not ready for this number. So that's 13 years. Okay. 1962 to 1975. This is the entire Southwest eradication program up to now in the story.
Okay.
So we're done with the Southeast. We started in 1962 on the Southwest. Over the next 13 years, 96 trillion sterile flies were released across the U.S., Mexico, and Puerto Rico.
Wow.
96 trillion sterilized flies.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Insane, right?
That place still got to smell bad too.
So bad.
Yeah.
A new fly rearing facility was built in, I'm going to say this wrong.
Okay.
Tuxtla Gutierrez, Mexico.
Okay.
In 1977, the Mexico-U.S. Commission had reached success, and Texas had only 39 confirmed cases that year.
Oh, wow.
They were also improving the radiation technology, allowing for lower doses and healthier flies that would be able to compete with the native flies much better. They had a huge public information campaign in 1977 called Mission 77.
Oh my gosh.
It was incredible. The USDA made brochures, bumper stickers, pins, posters. And they distributed them all over the Southwest U.S. and the Southwestern U.S. and in Mexico, in English and in Spanish.
Oh my gosh.
They researched release paths of the flies that they were sending out on these planes and schedules. They became very thoughtful and precise about where and when they were releasing all of these flies.
Yeah.
They were targeting specific areas based on the data that ranchers were collecting and sending to county officials. They were targeting specific areas as they came up. They were releasing flies in the mating patterns of the female flies so that they would be right there, ready to live it up.
I think live it up. Live, laugh, love.
Yeah, they're ready to live, laugh, love. Into those lady fly hearts. Yeah. They also invented this chemical compound called storm lure to attract flies in order to get better data collection on how good they were doing, like in their making these sterile populations prevalent. And by 1980, the barrier of sterile flies had pressed south to get rid of them in all of northern Mexico completely. Now we're into the 80s. The facility in Texas closed down in 1981, and now that the warehouse in Mexico is the only place producing sterile flies. They're producing, in this Mexico warehouse, 500 million sterile flies per week.
Wow.
I looked at some of the posters that they were using I really loved this website I found that is a shout out to the USDA archivers. Because they have every document, every so many examples of posters, all these video PSAs. They have a huge timeline. I mean, that was my main source of information, and it was just like,
wow, that's
an archive. They have this, apparently the USDA has an archive of lots of programs they've initiated over the years. Yeah.
Nice.
So shout out to them. Archiving is so fun. The posters I liked the best were ones from Mexico. They said, "Las super moscas nos liberan de gusaneras," which means super flies free us from worms.
This is crazy.
I know. Throughout the 1970s and 80s, the eradication program continued moving more and more and more south.
Right.
We managed to eradicate screwworm flies from all of Mexico. That means we had to start working with the Central American countries and governments to continue our efforts. Guatemala joined first into this effort in 1987, and the flies were eradicated there pretty quickly. And Belize next in 1989. Okay, so I gave away the answer a little bit because obviously it's not Guatemala and Belize. But the next Mad Lib was to guess a Central American country. And this country is where the permanent barrier resides. Now,
I said Belize.
you did say Belize.
But it's not.
It's not Belize.
Okay, I don't know any other central.
It's Panama. At the Panama Canal.
Okay.
In 1991,
Okay.
the USDA Animal and Plant Inspection Service decided the best place for an efficient and cost-effective barrier would be the Panama Canal, the narrowest point of Central America.
Yeah.
We're basically saying, screw you, South America.
Right.
We're just gonna fix our own
We're
problems.
done here.
Because don't forget, South America is fully still infested with screwworm flies.
Yeah.
We've done nothing to eradicate the population there.
Wonderful.
So we decided the Panama Canal would be cheapest, most importantly, cheapest, and easiest to maintain.
Right.
But it came with its own challenges to enact the plan. The efforts needed to get the barrier there, build the warehouses, educate the people, all that.
Right.
Required political negotiations between several countries now, financial negotiations, and Central America was in a pretty politically turbulent time at this point. So there was often violence all around these negotiations.
Great.
They would come up with a plan in the country for eradication efforts, like, where are we going to build this warehouse? Who's going to pay for it? And then soon they'd find out the building has been destroyed or the officials they spoke with killed.
Wow.
So it was tough to continue the efforts with so many countries involved.
Yeah.
But finally, in 1994, all 7 countries in Central America signed a cooperative agreement with the U.S. In 1995, El Salvador had their fly population eradicated, and by 2000, Honduras and Nicaragua were fly-free as well.
Oh my gosh. And they're all kind of using the same technique?
Yes.
Okay.
We're still releasing flies from way up in Mexico at this point.
Okay.
It wasn't until 2003 that they built the new permanent, very high-tech, very large fly rearing facility in Panama at the Darien Gap in the Panama Canal.
Wow.
So that was in 2003. That place is still there, still kicking, still
going?
producing flies almost 25 years later. So there's been a literal invisible wall of sterile flies holding back the screwworm population that still lives in South America from everywhere else in the Americas.
Besides the countries that you said, the rest of them still have the flies.
The flies are still a huge problem in all of South America, yes. They're not native to anywhere else in the world.
Right.
There was briefly a very scary infestation in sub-Saharan Africa, and the American governments swiftly sent flies over to eradicate.
Oh, nice.
Because if that had started to spread throughout Africa, it would have been really bad for a multitude of reasons, from the difficulty of educating all of these populations that we're not familiar with, that have completely different cultural practices around their lives, language barriers,
culture.
Yeah. Way more animals.
Right.
Way more wildlife animals.
Right.
Way different and foreign to us livestock rearing practices. So it was just scary. But they managed to eradicate it out of sub-Saharan Africa quick.
Okay.
And it never infested there again because they're not even sure how it got there. It must have been by some animal
Superfly
moved over. They can't fly that far. So must have been on a boat or something.
Okay.
So yeah, we've been maintaining this invisible wall of sterile flies for 25 years now in the Panama Canal. And up until recently, it's been working really, really well. It saves American farmers, well, Central America, Mexico, and U.S. American farmers. An estimated $1.3 billion a year. And the whole program only costs $37.5 million per year.
Oh, wow.
So huge financial gains here.
Yeah.
We also release a lot less flies. Still an alarming amount.
Right.
In 2020, about 14.7 million flies were being released per week. Constantly from the facility in Panama.
Wow.
But we've come to some bad news in the story.
Oh, no.
The wall is failing.
It's failing now.
Yeah.
Why?
Today we're releasing 100 million or more flies per week, but it's not enough. In 2016, there was a small outbreak, likely from Cuba, that spread into the Florida Keys. Here's another Mad Libs for you. It was primarily infesting a type of animal, a wild animal that lives in the woods in the Florida Keys. You said black bear.
Yeah. It's not a black bear.
It's not a black bear.
And it's in the woods in the Keys. Monkeys.
There's no monkeys in the Florida Keys. It's white-tailed deer.
Okay.
White-tailed deer, apparently there's lots of them in the Florida Keys, and they're very friendly with the people there.
Yeah.
They'll come up to you and eat out of your hand and frolic in your yard.
Right.
And all of a sudden in 2016, these friendly little cute white-tailed deer had bone deep, disgusting, gaping wounds. Oh my God. So the public really freaked out, of course.
Yeah.
Because
we don't know this.
we don't know anything about them.
We don't know this. Yeah.
Since they've been eradicated for decades, nobody knows about screwworm
completely
flies.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Out of sight, out of mind. The ranchers that are really old will be the only ones that will remember when this was a problem.
Right.
So we did good. The infestation was quickly handled. We shipped just so many flies to the Florida Keys, and it didn't spread to the rest of Florida. We eradicated it.
Okay.
Within the course of less than a year.
Okay.
But in the past several years, since 2020, higher costs and less employees, largely due to losses from the COVID pandemic and associated supply chain issues,
Yep.
have made it more difficult to keep up this constant effort of
Constant battle.
biological wall.
Yeah.
So cases of screwworm fly infestation have started creeping more and more north, first all the way through Central America
Okay.
and now into southern Mexico. This is a really immediate emergent problem
Wow.
happening like now.
Right.
Like just in May this year, the screwworm fly population is pretty close to the US-Mexico border.
Oh my God.
And it's your last Mad Libs of the story.
Okay.
I asked for a number between 500 and 1,000. You said 727.
Yeah. Well,
This is the number of miles away, the screwworm wall, the sterile wall, like the barrier of there's cases here versus there's no cases here.
Yep.
Where's that barrier? How far away from the US is it to the border?
I think 727 is a decent guess.
It's less. It's 600 miles away. So we're not in flying distance yet, but
Yeah.
we're getting there.
Right.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any PSAs on it. No.
PSAs about it yet. Can you imagine now? It would be like TikToks or like
Exactly.
YouTube videos and
Oh yeah.
so
for
much
sure.
discourse. People would be like, that's not real.
Some Reddit threads.
It would be pretty bad if the population became widespread in the US again.
Oh, God.
Experts estimate that 90% of cattle production companies would go out of business.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. The US is exploring a lot of options to like hurry up and figure this out.
Okay.
They're gonna reopen a sterile fly plant in the US, in Texas again.
Okay.
And they're thinking about renovating the old one that still stands in Mexico. The modern efforts of this whole endeavor to reinvigorate the sterile fly production here would cost around $300 million.
Okay.
But it would save the U.S. livestock industry upwards of $10 billion in economic impacts if the flies overtook us.
Yeah.
We're also innovating new strains of sterile flies that will be better at competing with the local populations as they are now.
Okay.
Because like the flies in South America that are starting to climb north again are like evolved differently than the ones that we were fighting, 25 years ago and stuff.
Right.
So we're always making different strains of sterile flies, better fly producing nutrition mediums. They're not made of ground beef and blood anymore. They're made of like protein, egg, and blood powder mixed with water.
Oh.
It makes like a uniform sludge. It still smells like death.
Yeah, it's got to.
Yeah, it still smells bad. We've also perfected the radiation technique to pinpoint the lowest dosage and ensure the healthiest sterile males.
Right.
And entomologists are again producing educational material and hosting talks and workshops and summits and stuff to try to educate the population again.
Yeah.
And distributing the materials to ranchers. Telling them what to look for. Yeah, I don't feel great about it.
I don't feel good about it.
Particularly bad, which I'm gonna leave you with, is that the infestation in Texas and the Southwest U.S. was already so hard to get rid of. It would be way harder now than it was in the 60s and 70s. Mostly because we haven't had screwworm flies for so long that the wildlife populations have exploded.
Right.
In Texas in the 1970s, there were just tens of thousands of white-tailed deer.
Okay.
But in Texas today, there are millions of white-tailed deer.
Oh my gosh.
So inspection, we also have way more livestock production than we did 50 years ago.
Right.
So the inspection process, prevention would be way more labor intensive.
Right.
Way more, hundreds of millions of flies would have to be produced and released. Not to mention the culture of like anti-science that we've got going on in the US right now. I don't imagine the education process would be easy to like get everyone to cooperate and even believe that this is an issue.
Yeah.
Like before it happens.
That's why I said I don't feel good about it.
Yeah. So
Because I don't feel good about this at all.
I don't either. But we managed to eradicate them before, and we have that method still in place, and we're better at it than ever. So
Does this process, whether it be inspecting the livestock or any of that, like, has it relied on like immigrant for jobs for like the immigrant population for these jobs?
I don't know. That's a great question. That would be a problem.
That's a problem.
Well, like I know, for example, the produce industry is heavily reliant on immigrant labor. So is that true of the livestock industry?
I mean, I would just imagine farming of any kind.
Yeah, I imagine it would.
Affected by that. So that might present another big
political challenge, right? Yeah. This endeavor has always been full of political challenges,
I imagine.
and I don't think that's going to change this time around if we have to do it again.
No, it'll be worse.
It'll be worse.
Much worse, yeah.
Okay, great. So, yeah, now that we're full of new and fun existential dread, I hope your rabbit hole that you're going to tell me about is light and funny
Okay.
and cute. No.
I don't know about cute.
Oh, God.
But okay.
Is it going to fill me with existential dread?
No.
Okay, great. Good. I'm so glad to hear that. I'm really glad to hear that. Wait, before we move on to that, what do you think? Are you horribly disgusted? Did I ruin your brain with this information? I apologize.
No, and just FYI, like, you kind of gave me a hint about what it was, since there was like bug questions and stuff in the Libs, and I was petrified because I have a fear of swarms.
Oh no! Oh no! Did this trigger your fear of swarms?
No, it didn't.
Okay, good.
I was so worried about it. I was like,
I'm glad it didn't.
I don't know, like, what's gonna happen.
Yeah, every time I tried to start telling any of my friends about what I was researching, they made me stop pretty soon. They were like, I don't want to know any more about this.
Yeah, no, it didn't trigger me, and I would be someone that would be more, I think, susceptible to being triggered by that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I do have a phobia of swarms. I can handle one
Bug at a time.
right, exactly. But when there's swarms of things,
Yeah, that is scary.
like when you told me how many like eggs they were like,
Oh, yeah, that was probably
like,
bad for you. Yeah, that's a lot.
But yeah, no, I think you did a fairly good job of not making it like too triggering.
Cool. All right, tell me your rabbit hole.
Okay, so I came across an article when I was looking for topics for main show, and it was a really interesting topic, but it's fairly small, like, so I'm like, there's not enough information here or research here
Yeah.
for me to do like an episode on it, right? So I was like, oh, okay. But so I was like reading all this, different ways and stuff that they were doing this thing, and I was like, okay, I can definitely go down this rabbit hole.
Okay, tell me about how you went down the rabbit hole.
In search for ways to combat enemy forces while not necessarily causing them lasting harm, the U.S. military has had some creative ideas over the decades.
Creative ideas about what? About attacking an enemy
Forces, right?
without lasting harm.
Correct.
Okay.
But there was the main one that I started looking at.
Oh my God. I can't even imagine what you're going to say to me right now.
There was one project in the 1990s.
Debbie is very not holding in her laughter right now.
The U.S. Air Force during the 1990s, started coming up with like a plan for something.
Okay.
So like they were looking into like theoretical chemical weapons and stuff that would disrupt enemy morale, debilitating soldiers, but
Disrupt their morale with a chemical?
right.
Like make them depressed. Why did that make you laugh more? Oh God.
They came up with the concept of a gay bomb.
A gay bomb?
Yeah.
Wait, they said we'll disrupt their morale by turning them gay?
Gay. Yes.
Wow.
Okay. So
they don't know anything about the queer community because that would not disrupt morale. Everyone would be so happy.
I know. So the Air Force put together a 3-page proposal in which they detailed their $7.5 million invention.
Oh no.
The gay bomb.
What chemical are they using?
I don't know if it
helium. If we give them all gay voices,
that's true.
And we give them all gay little queer voices,
okay,
then they'll turn gay, right?
Be a cloud of gas that would discharge over the enemy camps that contained a chemical that would cause enemy soldiers to become gay and to have their units break down because the soldiers became irresistibly attracted to one another.
Excuse me?
Basically, the pheromones in the gas would...
They were releasing pheromones to make them all want to have gay sex with each other.
It never actually happened. This
was an idea they had.
And they were...
You're telling me government weapons facilities sat down around a table and talked about making soldiers have gay sex.
Yes. So that seems like
I'm so
very dumb idea to me for
I fucking love it.
So many reasons.
I wish it worked. I wish they made whole armies of enemies have sex with each other. Oh my God.
Okay, here's the thing.
Oh my God.
Just because you turn gay doesn't mean you're automatically attracted and wanting to fuck everybody. Like all
it does, Debbie.
No, it
does.
It does not do
You've
that.
never been at a cocktail on a Friday night, huh?
So the pheromones in the gas would turn the soldiers gay. Very few studies actually produced any results.
No. I'm shocked by that.
But that didn't stop them. Like scientists continue to suggest.
They still spent a bunch of money on this? Like $75 million?
They were still researching it. The science continued to suggest additions to the gay bomb, including aphrodisiacs.
Oh my God.
And other scents. I don't know what.
Other scents?
Like Axe body spray. I don't know what that even means.
Poppers. The scent of poppers.
I don't know what scents you would release.
That's wild.
Okay.
I love that they thought releasing pheromones would make people gay. That's
okay.
Incredible. You do not understand how much I love this story.
I know. It's great. So I've got more.
Could you imagine suggesting that we make a gay bomb to the government now?
Oh, absolutely not. Okay, first off, can I just say that I do love the idea that back in these...
When was
in
this?
the past, that was in the 90s.
In the 90s?
Yes! I I like the idea that we were actually considering non-lethal warfare.
Sure.
That was the one.
I love that we
one
think that
positive.
if we made them all gay, they'd be like bad at war.
Yeah, they
And
stop fighting.
They wouldn't have time for fighting because they would have to have so much gay sex.
Exactly. That's right.
Oh,
That's correct.
wow.
So that led me down the rabbit hole of like some of the other like over the years like non-lethal weapons that the government has considered.
Hit me with them.
Scientists theorize a sting me, attack me bomb, which would drop a scent that attracted swarms of enraged wasps.
Oh God.
And
Talk about your phobia.
And one that would make skin suddenly unbelievably sensitive to the sun.
Turning people into vampires.
That's awful. Like giving them all sunburns.
Wow. That's so like mild as a warfare technique. I mean, I guess if you were all of a sudden like blistering like badly in the sun, you would like run for cover.
I guess. Okay.
Or you just wear like people.
I'm gonna give you a
soldiers wear clothing.
I'm gonna give you a few more examples that have been thought of.
Okay.
One of them is not gonna be real.
Okay. So I have to try to guess it.
You're gonna guess which one. It's not real. Okay. So there was the severe and lasting halitosis. But I like this article. This is obviously a real one. That said it's not clear what they hope to achieve by giving their enemies.
That reminds me of that episode of SpongeBob where SpongeBob thinks he's ugly, but really he just has bad breath.
Yes, exactly.
And he goes, "I'm ugly and I'm proud."
Okay, so there is shooting the enemy in the eyes with paintball guns.
Okay.
Okay.
In the eyes.
I guess to
It's like some Mario Kart.
to blind them.
Some Mario Kart shit.
Simulated flatulence among them.
Simulated flatulence. They'd be so embarrassed that they would run
distract
away.
the soldiers with terrible smells long enough for the U.S. to attack.
That's insane. Okay.
They've
I feel like that one is
tried
fake
to
one.
create armor that renders a soldier invisible.
Oh, that's cute that they thought they could do that.
Stimulating the brain to suppress sleep for days.
That one could be effective.
Arm
Out of all of them, I think that one could be most effective.
arming sharks with chemical implants and cameras to work as spies.
Not shark spies.
Yeah, shark spies.
That I want to say that one's fake, but I believe that it's real. Like I believe that they tried to do that. Shark spies. That's so silly and whimsical.
Foam that makes the enemy slip and fall.
Oh my God. See, why didn't we go these routes?
That's what I'm saying.
Like, why can't we put the fun
We
back
need
in
to
war?
foam.
Why can't we lost the whimsy.
Why can't we foam them?
We did. We lost the whimsy, you know?
Yeah, we did.
Now it's all like bad and awful and
Yeah, very lethal.
so lethal.
Microwaves to penetrate the skin and make the enemy feel as if they're on fire.
Oh, that sounds unpleasant.
In World War II, they thought of the bat bomb as the next great secret weapon. Winged animals with incendiary devices strapped to their bodies would drop over Tokyo
And blow themselves up?
and pull themselves up. Apparently, yeah, they called
Not
that
like that
the bat bomb.
Batman didn't do good on that one. He lost his way making the bat bomb. I don't like that.
And also, the last one I'll give you is the CIA apparently famously, I haven't heard of it, famously plotted to use cats implanted with listening devices called acoustic kitties to spy on the Russians during the Cold War. The project was scrapped when poor Whiskers was squished by a passing taxi.
Not Whiskers.
Yeah.
They said one dead cat is one too many. Shut it all
They
down.
were like, oh no, what if they went out in front of a car? Okay.
Wow, I think the flatulence is fake.
I think the
Fake flatulence.
Okay. Any other one thought you're like, okay.
I
Second guess. What was your second?
Whoa. Can I look at the list? Or will that give it away?
I would give it away.
Okay.
So there was the sting me, attack me bomb,
Right.
the halitosis, like you said, the paintball eyes, the creating armor that renders a soldier invisible, the flashlight one, like you said, arming sharks with chemical implants,
That one's got to be true.
stimulating the brain to suppress sleep for days, the slip and fall.
Oh, maybe it was that one.
You like the slip and fall, the foam?
Yeah, I don't believe that the military could be so whimsical
Okay,
as like
neither
making
of those-
fart noises and making us slip on foam.
Those are both real.
Wow, the military has whimsy. What happened?
As far as I know, paintballs to the eyes is
Oh, okay.
not true.
Did your son come up with that one too?
No,
You came up with it. Okay.
but
Okay. Paintballs to the eyes. Yeah, I should have guessed that. That one did sound like
yeah,
wild. I mean, they all sounded wild.
they're all crazy.
Yeah.
But gay bombs.
I so want gay bombs to be real.
Yeah,
Can you imagine?
I really wish they would have like gone with something like that. That was a fun rabbit.
That is a fun rabbit hole. I liked it.
Yeah,
Oh my god, I want gay bombs to be real. It's so fun.
I know. They would have to have glitter.
They would have to have glitter.
They have to.
And it would be illegal for them not to have glitter.
Nope. Okay, well, we will be back next time. I'll do a story for you with some Mad Lib twist.
Yeah,
And we'll see how well you can answer the question.
Or how badly.
Yeah. All right.
for listening.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.